Hi guys, and welcome to part 3 of this patio build series. Thank you for joining me. And in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to apply Indian sandstone sealer, and we're also going to be grouting the patio. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2 of this series, you may want to check those videos out first, and I'll put links to those in the description below. But just to give you a recap, in part 1 I prepared the area for the patio sub base. I dug out around 100 to 200 mil for the type 1 MOT to be laid. And then I built a retaining wall using these sleepers. I run a cable to the bottom of the garden, which is going to be used for patio lighting a bit later on in these videos. And then I compacted it in layers so that we've got a nice solid foundation to lay our patio slabs. In part 2 I installed this socket at the bottom of the garden, so we've now got outdoor power. I then get way too excited over the Indian sandstone slabs. I show you how to mix up cement while spilling most of it on the floor. And then finally we lay the Indian sandstone slabs. I'm also going to be doing a little experiment with this patio sealer to see if it's any good. I've got a product here which I want to show you. It's a paint sprayer, so we're going to be doing a little review on that, and let's get on with it. Preparation for applying this patio sealer. The patio has to be thoroughly clean, so I jet wash that off completely and allow it to dry for at least 48 hours in nice sunshine. So it's baking at the moment. You can spray apply it or you can use a roller. So I'm going to be doing both methods and we can do a little comparison. That's pretty much it. For the experiment then, I've got this offcut of sandstone slab. I'm going to divide it in half, seal one side and leave one side natural, and then I'm going to coat it in various substances and we'll see if we can get those stains off. I think I'm going to try some oil, maybe some red wine. It means I've got to open a bottle of red wine and I'll have to drink it. Probably not a good idea. Maybe it is. What else can we spill on it? What are you likely to spill on a patio? We'll have to think about that one. But for now, let's just seal half of this and then we can find some stuff later to throw at it. Try not to spill it everywhere. Oh, yeah, I'm splashing it everywhere. It applies really well with a roller. Now I'm going to go put that out in the sun and allow it to dry, and then we can do the experiment a little bit later on. For the product review here, we've got this paint sprayer. This works with Makita batteries, but you can also get Milwaukee versions, and I think they also do DeWalt ones. It comes with various different nozzle sizes, depending on what you're spraying. So this is the finest one we've got in there at the moment, because this is quite thin, the sandstone sealer. So we just put that in there, screw the end on, and you can have the fan pattern go in that way vertically, or you can rotate it so it's horizontal. It's got 1.2 litre reservoir that we're going to fill up, and then you just get your standard battery, slide it on there, and away you go. If you like what you see, I'll put a link to this in the description below. And I'll give you an honest review at the end of this video as to what I think of this product. Before sealing or grouting the patio, I give it the once over and check for any packers that got stuck in between the slabs. And then I just use an angle grinder to cut them out, because obviously you don't want these showing through the grout. I did try and scrape out any of the excess mortar and wipe it off as I was going, but I did miss a few, and as you can see, the groove's not really deep enough to take the grout. You want a nice deep groove so it's got a larger surface area for the grout to bond to, and then that way hopefully the grout won't fall out. The patio had been laid for a few days at this point and it was already getting covered in bird crap, so I was quite eager to get it sealed. Before sealing, we have to jet wash it and get rid of any of that dust from where we were grinding out the grooves, any of the cutting dust from the slabs, and just make sure it's thoroughly clean. Jet wash all the bird poo off, any dirt, any dust, because you don't want to be sealing that in with the patio sealer. just going to test this out over here. It is working, but it's very slow, so I'm going to change the nozzle for one that's slightly bigger. Let's go for the red one. Now I'll give you my honest feedback of this paint sprayer. I really do like the product and it works well when it's working, but it was a little bit temperamental. Halfway through doing the patio, it just wouldn't spray anymore. It was full up and it just, it just gave up basically. I thought the nozzles may be blocked, checked them, they were clear, so I'm not sure why it wasn't spraying. Anyway, I switched to using a little foam roller, and I think this is probably the best method for applying the patio sealer. You get a nice even coat, and then you can just use a rag to wipe off the bubbles. If you do end up spray applying the patio sealer, I'd suggest wearing some overalls because I got absolutely covered in the sealer. It's a really sticky substance that you can't get off your skin very easily, so I was walking around like one of those fly catching strips. Everything was getting stuck to me. It was not a pleasant experience, so yeah, just a word of warning, don't get it on your skin if you can help it. For the patio grout, we're going to be using this EasyJoint, and this is in the stone grey colour. I've read through the instructions here to give us a guide, and I've watched a few other videos of how to apply this, and it has to be applied wet, but you can do it in all weather conditions. That's a good thing about this one. You don't have to wait for a sunny day, and it'll be much better than using sand and cement, that's for sure. So we'll use this, and we just need a squeegee or a stiff broom and a hose. We pre-soak the area, the wetter the better. That goes for a lot of things. And we just pour the tub out and sweep it into the grooves, and then we can finish it. Oh wait, to get a smoother finish, strike the joint with a pointing tool. So yeah, if you've got a pointing trowel, you can use that. I've actually got this grouting squeegee thing here, which I'm going to try and just get that in the grooves. We give this a go. We'll give this a go, and let's see how it comes out. I begin by soaking the patio area. As they say in the instructions, the wetter the better. The EasyJoint grouting compound comes in these small tubs, so it will get rather expensive for a larger patio, but it is really easy to use. You can get it in a range of different colours, and unlike your typical sand and cement joints, this remains slightly flexible, so it's not likely to crack. I empty the contents onto the wet patio. I then spray the grout with water, and this starts activating the grout. And once it's wet, it will remain wet, so if you've got any left over, you can literally put it back in the bucket and it'll store like that. It only sets once it dries out, so you've got plenty of time to work with this. I then continue to wet the grout. I want to make it as wet as possible, the wetter the better. And I use a stiff broom just to agitate it. When I'm happy it's nice and wet, I start to sweep the grout into all the joints, and I add water as we go. Water really does help because it makes the grout heavier, and then it allows it to sink nicely into the joints. By using a floating trowel, you can compress it into the joints, and it's well worth doing this.
even if you just use a pointing trowel to try and squeeze all of that grout in there. This should make the joint last much longer. You will end up using more grout this way, but it's worthwhile paying the extra money for the grout now, or else you'll end up redoing this in a few years' time if you don't compress the grout properly. Once I've swept all the grout into the grooves, I then just use a hose to spray off any of the excess grout, because we want the slabs to be nice and clean once we finish. I then use a pointing trowel just to clean up the edges, and this will help to compress that grout into the joint. I then just repeat the same process for the rest of the patio. If you want to get yourself some EasyJoint Grouting compound, I'll put a link in the description below, and if you buy it through the links you'll also be supporting the channel, so thank you very much if you buy it through the links. I get a small kickback off of it, and it just helps me fund other projects, for which I have many planned for this channel. So if you're interested to see what I get up to, please don't forget to subscribe. If you found this video useful, if you could give it a thumbs up and click that alarm bell, and that way you'll get notifications when I post new videos. Now just look at this grout, it's completely dry now and it's got a really strong, durable finish. So I'm really happy with this product and I'd highly recommend it. Let's finish off this video by testing out the sandstone sealer. It happens to the best of us, and unfortunately I've spilt some red wine on my new patio. Luckily we have the patio sealer and it comes straight off. But you can see, not so much on this side, it's soaked into the slab, and we'll see if that leaves a stain. Next up, one of your guests starts having a nosebleed on your brand new patio, and it turns out that they've got hay fever and the pollen count was particularly high this day. Achoo! You're obviously concerned about your guest, however you need to make sure you can get that blood off your patio. A little drop of clean spirit, give that a quick wipe over. How about a bit of nail polish? You're doing your nails on the patio, it's a nice day, and you accidentally spill the nail polish on the patio. Oh no, spilt nail varnish on my lovely new patio. Oh god, oh no, oh god. I won't waste too much because that's quite a nice colour. Not even going to bother with that. This stuff is a nightmare to get out of clothes, so let's see how it fares with our patio slab. It's a waxy, oily substance. Yeah, that'll do. So let's try and get it off. Oh my god. Oh no. Let's just do a quick summary of the slab test then. The red wine hasn't stained either side. It wasn't actually red wine, it was red and purple food colouring mixed together with a little drop of water to give it a similar effect. It probably had more pigment in it than red wine would, and it still hasn't stained either side. So that's good to know. Then we move on to the blood. That was pure red food colouring, so really strong dye. And you can see here it's stained the unsealed side. It soaked straight into the porous sandstone and left this mark here, but you can see on this side where it's sealed, that stain just wiped straight off. It didn't soak into the stone because we've got this nice film protection. Then we move on to the wax oil. You can see we have got a stain on both sides, but it's much worse on the side that hasn't been sealed. Most of it's come off, but you've still got a little bit of wax stuck in the texture. If you've ever seen any of my previous rust proofing videos, you'll know that I get absolutely covered in the wax oil, and it's ruined some of my favourite clothes. So definitely one to avoid on your patio. And then finally up here we've got our nail varnish, and you can see I managed to get most of it off of the sealed side, but it's really stained the unsealed side. That is why it's so important to seal your sandstone, and I'd highly recommend this sandstone sealer. It's really easy to apply and it leaves a nice wet look finish. I'll put a link in the description below to the sandstone sealer and any other products that we've used in this video so you can find them nice and easily. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video where we'll be carrying on with this garden project. In particular, we'll be building a fence down the middle of the garden to separate the patioed area from the grassed area. And that's mainly to keep the dog off of the lawn when it gets too wet. So if you're interested to see how this fence turns out, it's going to be built out of sleepers, roofing battens, so it's going to be fairly low cost. And hopefully that video should be ready for next Sunday, 5 PM UK time. Thank you for watching as always, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Cheers guys, take care.